Greetings. Well, it's still pretty early here in the morning in Hawaii, but there was no breeze this morning and no rain, and so I decided it was time to try to haul the poly over the top of my tube frame here and finish off the greenhouse. The sheet was 20 by 25 feet, and so it really helps that there's no wind when you're trying to do it by yourself. It was actually pretty easy. I spread it out the wrong direction first and had to rotate it, but it didn't take too long to get it up there. I've had some questions about this structure, so I thought maybe I'd do a short walk around so you can have a look at a few of the details. The basic building is an old tube carport structure. They use these a lot over here on the island to keep the cars dry and clean. They sell them at the hardware stores and building supply stores, and they have gray silver tarps and bungees over the top of them. This one here was used years ago by me for a camping shelter before I built a house here. It's been around and it had gotten degraded. The tarp is gone and so on, so I went ahead and I refurbished it. I changed the dimensions, recut the pipes, added pipes that were lost. This type of a structure, it utilizes a metal conduit, industrial metal conduit as the tubes. Some of the structures out there, commercial greenhouses, actually use the same diameter as chain link fence tubing also, which is probably a little bit better, the plating and so on, than the conduit, but it all works. One of the details here I was going to point out, right here where the poly hits the top of the tubes, I laid a heavy-duty duct tape all over the whole top of the tubes. See right here, everywhere where the poly made contact. That's to help keep the poly from abrading against the tube. It gives it a softer area to touch when the wind blows. That keeps it from wearing out so fast. Down here at the base of the structure, you can see there's a 2x4 cleat. All I had was 8-foot 2x4s, so I've scabbed them together here with gussets. This not only keeps the bottom straight and holds things together a little bit, but it was used to apply the poly at the bottom end. Here you can see that I stapled the poly to the 2x4, then I put a piece of lath over the top, and then I put it down with galvanized nails all the way down, and so it's held down with a strip of wood the whole length. Another one of the details I wanted to point out here is that to anchor this into the ground so the wind can't carry it away, I took the next size tubing up from the greenhouse size, and I drove 3 feet of it down into the ground, and I left about 18 inches of it here above the ground. The greenhouse was slid inside this tubing, and then down here at the base you'll see that there's a decking screw. I drilled a hole through both of the tubes and then ran the deck screw through the tubes into the 2x4 out here to hold everything together. The other important detail I wanted to point out is that I'm using these poly clips. These clips are available from greenhouse stores. I got them from the Greenhouse Mega Store. It's online. They're basically just PVC plastic. You can cut them to length. I cut all of mine to 1 foot here. And you buy them size to fit over your tubings. And so then you wrap the poly around the tube, twist it tight, push the clamp on. Clamp holds it all in place. You can see here it goes all the way around. Pretty simple. It was quick, easy to install. Probably took me longer to cut them from the 4-foot lengths into individual pieces than it did to install them. Another thing I wanted to point out is you will see this funny little symbol on here. It says this side inside, and we have it inside so you can read it properly. This poly is UV stable treated. Okay, so it's been treated with chemicals that will keep it from burning up in the sunlight. And there is absolutely no point if you're making a greenhouse structure and using the polyethylene from the hardware store. It's going to burn up in a year or two and just turn into crumbles and blow all over. You really want to take the money to get yourself some UV stable polyethylene for the job. Generally this stuff is guaranteed for 4 or 5 years in place. I've had experience in California with it lasting over 8 if it's put on right. A little windy here because of the trade winds. I think this will probably be blown out in about 4 years, but we'll see. Anyway, it lasts much longer than the regular poly. Unfortunately, it's also more expensive. This 20 by 25 foot sheet we used in here cost me $85 with the shipping to get it here. So, as a final note, because I'm sure somebody's going to ask the question, Bill, you built a greenhouse behind you, and it's got a roof, and it's got 2 walls, but there are no side walls in your greenhouse. Why? Well, we're in Hawaii. We're right smack dab on the 20th parallel, the Tropic of Cancer here. We don't need greenhouses for climate control as far as temperature or humidity is concerned. The outdoor environment here is very much like the inside of a commercial greenhouse anywhere else on the planet. What we use a greenhouse for here in Puna is to keep the extra rain off of crops that don't like too much water. So for instance, I'm going to be growing some tomatoes in here, because tomatoes, which are an easy garden crop most places, are actually not that easy here in Puna. They get diseases on the leaves from all the rainfall. So this greenhouse structure is predominantly an umbrella for my plants, and that's why there are no sidewalls. I've got it oriented so the prevailing northeasterly will kind of come in through the other end over there and keep the thing ventilated well. We don't want it getting very hot because, Hawaii, generally afternoon highs are upper 70s to upper 80s in this area of the world. And so to get much over that is going to be too much. And so we want the air to be moving through all the time. So there's a look at Bill's new greenhouse. It was quick, it was cheap, and it was easy. Hope you enjoy. Hang loose and happy gardening. Aloha.